Wake the kids and phone the neighbors. It is Pierre Hulsebus, the technical seller. Yeah, it's the technical seller, and we're ready for the podcast today. It's exciting. It's exciting. I know I'm excited for this topic today. This is sorry about that. A little cough coming on. Anyways, greetings, Earthlings. Are you ready for a mind-bending journey into the world of technology sales? Well, join me today as I explore the ins and outs of selling software, technology, and other various and sundry gadgets and or products. That's right. If you're a technical seller, this is for you. We're going to hone your sales skills to a fine tooth. We are going to get your sales skills to perfection. That's right. We're going to start on talking about sales methodologies, conversation starters. We'll even get into gear reviews, and I hopefully will be able to inspire you to just be a great seller. That's right. Because at the end of the day, nothing happens until somebody sells something. That's right. Your company is going to be a sad bunch if you're not selling, if the company's not selling. I'm going to help you acquire, identify, and retain the most valuable asset that your business has, which is, unfortunately, not the IP or the people that work in the building. The most important asset of a company is its customers. It all starts with customers, and sadly, it comes to an end when there is no customers. And so, that's why we want to help you guys out getting more customers. So that's what this is all about, and I'm the technical seller, Pierre Hulsebus, if I didn't say that. I come from you, or come to you today from the sunny Grand Rapids, Michigan-based studios of Hustle is the Hack. That's my little operation here. Anyways, let's get going. Let's start talking today about these big issues. And I've got some great ideas for you today. And what we're going to talk about is this importance that you as a technical seller, one of the things that you bring to the table. And what is that? This ability to have a conversation that is not just about your product, but about how your product fits in a broader business change or a digital transformation that's happening. And so being able to have a business digital transformation story, a digital transformation conversation is going to help position you. It's going to get you past the secretary and the IT department, because digital transformation is a mega trend. It is a mega trend. And that means that this is the strategy part of what technology you're going to be selling. So you're selling this tech. And often what happens is we get in the sales process and we get down into the swamp. We're about then deploying and implementing and, speeds and feeds and understanding use cases and all of this. What that lacks is a broader strategic conversation of how your product fits in a broader digital transformation story. And so digital transformation is a pitch, or let's say a speech or a set of ideas that you need to be able to possess. You need to develop these digital transformation story so you're able to talk to the C-level people in the company, not just the line managers that are trying to figure out how to use the product that you have. But you want to nail the conversation with the C-level people first. You have that conversation about how digital transformation is important for your company and how, these mega trends are happening, et cetera, et cetera. And then from there, the C-level person will say, that's great, Pierre. That's awesome. Let's spin up a conversation about how we can bring that digital transformation to this other department. Now I'm connected to the business strategy, not just to the I'm reducing cost or the purchasing department. Why are you $3 more expensive than your competitor? You're walking in the conversation down at the kind of technical decision maker level from being introduced by the C-level people, the business decision makers, the people that sign the checks. And that's who you want to talk to. So this is the kind of strategy of getting beyond that and having that conversation. And this is where you kind of are able to talk about this. This is called broadly thought leadership. So I'm going to talk to you about how to develop thought leadership in technology today. So the first one is having this conversation around a digital transformation story. This is important. Why is it important? What is the whole story around digital transformation? And why do you want to have this conversation? So digital transformation is probably the most important factor facing companies today. It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. It's like the ocean in a glass of water. It is the song "Everything is Everything." It is. It's the whole thing. Obviously, the digital transformation, by its very definition, is digital is important. So that implies this concept of I was not digital and now I am digital, or my industry is becoming digital. And that is the impact of industrialization over a period of time. We first started with kind of industrial automation back in the 1800s when Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin, right? And these are basically cotton factories that you could haul out into the field, put a bunch of cotton in it, and that thing would take all of the seeds out of the cotton, comb the cotton, and it's now ready to be baled up and sent over to somebody to make cloth. That process used to be manual, incredibly manual. And the cotton gin was able to, within a few hours, process the cotton that would have taken weeks and weeks of labor, manual labor to do it. So that's the idea, that we're using some sort of automation or technology to improve a process or deliver business value. I could lower the cost of labor by using this machine, and that would let me, and yet I wouldn't have to necessarily lower my price at market. I could now create additional value in the product, or I could use my same workforce and go hire or plant more fields. And so my cost per, would go down. My cost per bale of cotton would go down. So that's the idea. The Industrial Revolution started there, right? And so today we're just at another level of that evolution, which is taking analog systems or manual systems and creating digital value and leveraging that tech to do the same thing, either grow our business in a new way without having to add headcount. So that's the idea about digital transformation, or I'm going to be able to lower the cost of labor for the existing work that I'm delivering, right? So those are several different, or I'm lowering the risk. There's lots of different we'll talk about this as we go through this. So that's the kind of the intro to think about. The Industrial Revolution is really just is the same thing as the digital transformation story. And so we can all remember going to the history class and learning about the Industrial Revolution and what that did. There's good things that happened with the Industrial Revolution. There's bad things that happen. Digital transformation has the same thing. There's good things that happen and there's bad things. And we can acknowledge that. When we look at AI today, we can see the awesome potential of AI. We can also see the tremendous threat that it has for certain jobs. A lot of the area that I'm in is in customer service and field service operations. So the chat bot world is awesome, and it is scary for a lot of people in our industry, because it's going to put a lot of frontline workers out of work, because that thing can do some pretty amazing stuff, which is look up data based on data sources and ask a simple question or a complicated question and formulate a really good answer and send it back to you based on the data that it knows. And that's what a lot of customer service people do. All they do is follow a script. They look up data in a database, and then they answer the question back in the language that the customer wants. And then they ask, is there any other questions? So ChatGPT and the chatbot world is changing that business dramatically. And the first people that are going to be affected by that are all the call centers and all of the frontline technical support people. Because now I don't need to talk to a person. I can just talk to a bot, and the bot never calls in sick. The bot stays at its post all the day. I don't have to hire more bots during Christmas, and I don't have to lay people off, bots off when business is slow. And so it's infinitely scalable. So these are some of the things that are common or similar to the Industrial Revolution, that there's good and bad with that. So anyways, So that's kind of the preamble to this whole thing. So I'm going to give you my kind of pitch or kind of discussion around a digital transformation and how to leverage digital technology in the world and what that impact is. And then, take this with a grain of salt, apply it to your own business, apply it to your own industry. So here you go. Today, companies are able to leverage digital technology. And when we think of digital is really easy to understand. It's going from paper and analog systems to digital systems. Just like the transformation we're having in music. We all maybe you didn't, had cassettes or CDs or singles. Or if you're old enough, you had, albums. And that's a little bit of nostalgia and romantic and nice. It's full of scratches, but you couldn't take those things and put them in your pocket. You couldn't put them in your car. And now, because that industry has been completely digitalized, whenever I want to go and listen to any album that I ever wanted to, I can just look it up on Spotify and there you go. I have more music choices than I've ever had before. And I've got the same thing with books and televisions. All of these transformations going around us has happened. And it's really going from analog systems into digital systems. So that's the heart of digital transformation. And so it's that increasing ability for us to be more productive as consumers, being able to enjoy all the stuff around us that we have. And, it's like I said, my ability to go to my phone and in my car and pull up any album I ever wanted to listen to. That's transformed an entire industry. It's been said that the advent of the iPhone made 16 different industries obsolete. By being able to put it on one system, they disrupted all of these other businesses and all these other industries and got into the leadership of a lot of this and became the, giant streaming. So they created more revenue opportunities by serving their customers in a new and different way where customers wanted to do it. And so that's why it's really important today, because the tools that you use to make sure that your customers are happy, to make sure your employees are engaged and working at their best. This is the heart of digital transformation. That all those that are down the digital path today, and that's why it's important for businesses to understand how to leverage that tech to their advantage, and to the end, to that at the end of the day, to their customers' advantage, how to make new products and experiences with that new tech. And so the real question is, in your experience, what are some of those common challenges that companies face? So that's the first. Let me pause there for a minute before I go on to this kind of next question here. Does that make sense to you all that digital transformation is basically taking advantage of technology for new ways of doing business, transforming or taking control of an industry by innovation? That's the idea. I'm going to out-innovate my competitors. I'm going to create a new or better experience for my customers that my competitors are not able to do. And I'm going to do that by improving the productivity of my team, creating new opportunities and new spaces for ideas to happen and flourish, and be able to respond to those in a quicker manner. So if I was analog before, now I'm digital. So if you think about from a music production standpoint, back in the 60s, if I wanted to, sell 1 million records, I had to, it took days and months and years to, hire the band, record the album, go in the studio, go out, promote the album, get the distribution of those networks out there to the different record stores, then go to the record or to the radio stations. They called it payola. You'd pay the DJs, hey DJ, why don't you play my song? and then we'll bring the band in and you guys can promote the album, and then, direct people to the album place where you could buy the albums. And so this is what was going on back then. That's what it took. It was such a big deal to get, a record happening. If you want to see how it used to happen, go see the movie The Wonders with Tom Hanks, and you'll see the whole story of how it took to be a one-hit wonder. It was like 1.5 years process that this band goes through to record an album and then to leverage all that new kind of cool stuff that they created. Today, I can create an album. I don't need a big production company. I can create songs and music in my bedroom with the technology tools that I have today. And I can immediately, just like this blog or this podcast, immediately publish that out to a distribution network, and then it's done. I don't have to build the network. I can just leverage existing networks. I don't need a production studio. I need a mic and a mixer and something to record it on. And I now can send that message out. When I'm done with this, I'm going to push a couple buttons, and within a few minutes, that is going to be available to 4 billion people. The distribution network on the planet can now go consume this content immediately. I'm going to be able to go to my different platforms and promote that myself. I don't need a big company. I don't need to go on talk shows and stuff like that to promote it. So it's just that I've been able to, or we're able to, with the digital technology, remove those barriers and act faster. So the next question really, when we talk about digital transformation, is what are some of those common challenges when we're trying to implement and having this digital transformation process occur at a customer? So your customer is going to look at your product and go, oh, that's great. And I can see that you're aligning it with the changes in the industry as a whole. But let me ask you this question. In your experience, what's the common challenge that you face? What are the common challenges that you face when trying to implement your digital transformation story? Now, a technical seller, you're often going to go down one path, and it's not the good one. You're going to go down the technical sales path and the technology discussion. Well, the biggest implementation barrier we have is, it's usually the ISO compliance in the Figma database. Those are always the hardest ones. To try to get people aligned to use our phase induction motor system requires changes in the way that electricity is delivered at the factory floor. We go down this very complicated path of what the product is facing, what the common challenge that I face deploying the product I'm selling you. That's not the question. The customer, you don't care about that question. He assumes that you're going to have some problems deploying. That's not an issue. You guys will figure that out. You're smart. We got people that'll help with that. That's not the problem that he's trying to, or she is trying to ask you. She is looking at what are the common challenges that my company is going to have when I go down this road with you. When we get married, so to speak, and go down this path with your product or your technology solution, where are we going to be 5 years from now? What are the barriers that we're going to have to overcome here? And it's not the technical installation component. That's not the barrier. What it is, so my answer to that kind of question is, there's a lot of common challenges that exist in your industry. And at the end of the day, it's the same, whether it's an analog or digital transformation. Anytime transformation comes along, any business is going to face the same challenges. Is you have to make changes in individuals that affects individuals, people like you and me that have regular jobs every day that have to pay their bills. Those are your people that are the biggest challenge when it comes to transforming a business. Those are personal choices, and the change process that has to happen and come down the road is based on their ability to manage that change, whether it's the marketplace macroeconomics that are at factor, whether it's, customer choices and competition in the market, supply chain shortages. All of these changes are coming all at the same time that the company has to make changes in the way that they work. And so when you change what people do, now all of a sudden you are faced with a bigger issue, which is people. So it's people that is the biggest challenge, of making sure that you've have the message out there. You've aligned your change initiative with a strategy and and tactics that help people absorb those changes, and you have a change management plan in place. And we're going to work with you based on our experience, and we're going to bring change specialists in here to help you manage that change. So when change, at the end of the day, the only thing that, one of the things that we know is that when we impose change on people, then they will oppose it automatically. Change imposed is change opposed. And we see that all the time. And so we have to involve. It's scary. It's not easy. It gets people out of their individual comfort zones. But that's the very thing and why it's important for us to understand that transformation is really more about change than anything else. It's not about a specific technology. It's that a business has to change to keep up with each other and to keep up with its customer demands. And at the end of the day, it's really customers demanding the changes into the way that they receive our services or the way that we deliver those services. So it's not so much that one company out innovates another one as much as it is customers start to experience things and they want those new experiences and they have new expectations, and that evolves over time. And it's that change ultimately that we have to embrace and figure out how to meet customers where they want. Now, I'm a technologist and I come with a certain viewpoint on the business benefits of my specific technology. And so we want to work with you, Mr. Customer, to help figure out how to embrace the change that's happening in your industry and make our technology part of that strategic change that your organization is going through and your industry is going through, to meet new customer expectations, to grow your business or reduce your costs, whatever the strategic goal is here. The only person in the world that likes change is a baby with a wet diaper. Nobody likes change. We all resist change. It's just it's in our nature. A common challenge, companies are trying to implement digital transformation initiatives all the time, and they get sidetracked all the time because people don't understand why the change is happening. They resist that change actively, and they undermine the strategic goals that the companies have, and then they're not able to execute on that change. So we want to partner with you to understand what those changing dimensions of your customer demands are. We have a perspective in what we're seeing in the market, and then, we can help you ingest that data and that information and come up with a good joint plan of how to embrace those changes and make it part of a strategic advantage for your customer. Now, let me get out of character for a minute. That, I think, is the really, really important conversation to be able to have. That change that's coming is not something that you're just arbitrarily picking. That change that's coming and the transformation that the business has to go through is really because of customers' changes and customers' expectations and customers' demands. Customers have experience in one area, and then they begin to expect it in other areas. A really great example of that is Amazon. I worked in software in the early 2000s, ERP, order management systems. So when we're deploying these order management systems, our particular customers are asking us, well, how do we automate sending an email to the customer to tell them the status of their order? Where do I click the button to make sure that, let the customer self-serve the order? And it's like, where is this idea coming from? This is great, and what we find out is, like, these companies that are in commercial distribution, their end users were all starting to use Amazon. And Amazon, as we all know, is really, really awesome for this. Like, where is my package? I know right where it's tracking. I don't have to call anybody up. I just get to go 24/7 to my order entry, and it's going to tell me literally the tracking number. And I can figure out, do I need to be home this afternoon or not? Like, I want that. I want that same consumer experience in my industrial setting. And we're seeing this over and over again in the service business now. We want to have, everybody wants to be like Uber. They like the service business. I want to know when the tech is showing up. When is my pizza showing up? Just like, the Track My Pizza application. The cool part about those digital transformation stories and the cool part about those solutions is often not only do they help you acquire more customers, but they actually help you lower your cost, because most of those digital transformations, they're complicated to build initially. But what they do is they lower the cost of servicing the customers. The fact that I don't have to have somebody waiting 24/7 to answer a simple question like, where's my order? That we all expect this now. But the big understanding is that now my rejected deliveries go down. My theft for my order accuracy is up, because the customer is going to look at that order and go, well, that's not what I ordered. Before it even shows up at their door, they don't have to open the box, so I can build corrective actions in place. I'm going to have fewer rejections, because maybe if it required a signature, now I'm going to have somebody ready to be there when the vehicle is going to arrive for somebody to sign for the package. Like, so now I'm actually lowering the cost by leveraging that technology. And so that's where tech and this digital change can really benefit and be the lever for change in a company, that we're going to do this change here. It's going to be hard to do, everybody. We're going to do this, but customers are asking for better insight into their shipping process, from order to, it showing up to the time that we get paid. And because of that journey, we're going to go through a bunch of, IT changes that are going to happen. We're going to have to buy a bunch of things, and it's not going to be fun. And we're going to have to learn new stuff, but we're going to lower costs along the way. We're going to have happier customers, and we're going to survive to fight another day, because our customers are not going to go to across the street to somebody else who's going to do this themselves, because this is happening. The customer demand and their expectation is different than it was 5 years ago. And now we're going to start listening to the customer in this area. Like, so this is kind of the message that the C-level is able to deliver. And then they're able to walk you over to the IT group and say, this is the team that I would really love us to work with. Can you begin the process of helping them understand how our business works and how we can incorporate this change? And so we're now executive sponsored into the IT department. If I started in the IT department and said, hey, Mr. IT director, I have a way for you to lower your costs for, order management. Well, why would I want to do that? Think of all the changes I've got to go through. This is not going to be fun. This is going to be hard. I don't like your guys. Your product is, your product is based on a technology that my people don't like. And so I'm not gonna, I'm going to resist your offering. I'm not returning your calls. You guys are in a different digital ecosystem. We're committed to, like, I work at Microsoft. So, Pierre Hulsebus works at Microsoft. So, if I walk into a customer and start talking to them about it like that and say, well, yeah, I understand that, but we're really good and we're better than Oracle. It's like, well, we're on Oracle, so I'm not going to return your call. Like, so that's what you end up doing. What you end up setting the wrong kind of, like, your success in that strategy of going right at the quote unquote decision maker in IT, bad move. I want to be in there with the chief customer officer, them sponsoring me on the way down. And so that is a concept of selling down. You start at the top. And then you go, okay, well, this person needs help. I can talk to them in their language about business strategy and all of that. And then they're going to introduce me to the next level down to help implement my project and to get me a seat at the table. So now I'm sitting next to the seat of power, the people that are setting the strategy. I'm coming in, as a trusted advisor into the business. So that's why, this is such a critical strategy for us all to have. And so that's the digital transformations story from that particular perspective. When I talk to IT department then about what this is, it's the thing to think about digital transformation when we get down to the implementation part and start talking to the IT components. It is kind of like being a marriage counselor. It's kind of like being a marriage counselor, because now when I'm coming in with a change-oriented model, that means I have to deal with, I'm kind of now coming in on the organizational side. And I'm dealing with all the supporting systems that the organization has built over time to cope with the inadequacies of each other. So the reason these things are complicated in digital transformation is often really complex isn't because the people don't care about their work. It is exactly because the people care so much about their work that they've figured out how to do their stuff without regard to the failures and shortcomings of other departments and other groups in the company. So think about this. If I am building that digital transformation story, like we're saying, around order management from end to end, and I'm going to integrate, let's say, the pick and pack ship hardware. Like, so you have this automated warehouse that then, the system receives an order and it goes, a person stands at a spot and then, like, effectively all the machine turns on and it pulls all these bins down, and then it says, okay, the first bin, take out 3. And so you take out 3 of the right-handed parts, and then the system goes and puts that bin back, and it brings you another bin and says, okay, pick 2 parts out of this one. These are the left-handed parts. Okay. So you're fulfilling a customer order. We call this picking and packing. So the picking and packing system has to be integrated with the order management system to be able to receive the order. And so if I'm going to build a digital transformation story about being able to better align, that order management system with the customer order management system, now I've got 2 different departments that both so the group that does the picking operations bought this expensive piece of hardware, and it all works really well for them. And they're super efficient on all the KPIs that they were given, and they're just killing it. Then we've got the order management group that's taking orders in a completely different system. And then there is got to be some sort of bridge between the 2 of them. And my strategy is to unify the 2 of them. I'm going to have to deal with all of the, let's say, bad blood that existed between this. The reason I am this way is because your system doesn't give me the tracking data. It doesn't doesn't tell me when you do the ordering. It doesn't go out and shop for, the trucking company that has to fulfill the order. So my system does that. Well, we want to put that into a different system, so now you end up with dealing with the organizational barriers that exist. And as a salesperson, that's not what you signed up for. It's like, I just want to sell you a better pick, pack, ship operations system. I want to help you digitally transform. And now all of a sudden I'm dealing with, personalities, and we're dealing with people that, and teams that aren't aligned. And this is the real heart of change, the real heart of digital change. It is executing at this level that's more important. In the long run, I'm going to have to get those 2 groups to start to think alike. I'm going to have some alignment in terms of goals. I'm going to have them envision a future and figure out how to get there. And so we're going to have to do some business architecting and find business value and common ground in those things. Those are soft skills that a lot of technical sellers do not possess. But this is what distinguishes a guy and gals that can sell hardware and products and people that are your, superstars that can kind of come in and help a company through a digital transformation story, and using your products as part of that. You end up being way more successful. You end up selling higher value products and the services and partnerships that go along with that. And now, because I'm a trusted advisor to the customer and I have insight as a technical salesperson, you have just gained another piece of currency that your company wants, which is a customer. I have not just sold something, but I have built a relationship with the C-level at a great customer that would be more than happy to talk to us about what's the next thing that we're doing. How can we align with the insight and changes that they're seeing in their market so my product can be better? So I'm telling you, as a technical salesperson, one of the currencies that you have as a technical salesperson is a customer. The product team that builds and engineers products, they don't talk to customers as much as you do, right? Exactly. And the other salespeople that you compete against, they're more interested in talking to the IT department or operations on how to deploy something, and they're down in the swamp. But you're now at a much higher level in the organization, having a better strategic conversation with that. And the network that offers you from a referral standpoint is way more powerful than your competitors that are down there selling at the implementation level. So getting further up in the conversation, being able to have that thought leadership before you get to implementation and design, that helps you teach the customer, and it helps you tailor your offering for the customer. And in the end, when it comes to implementation, you are positioned as the leader or as a thought leader for the other subordinate departments that have to carry it out. So you're positioning this as a change, not that you're bringing, but we're positioning this as a change that the customers are bringing. That's right. It's all in response to the demand of customers. And so you've now set the stage that it is you and the customers against anybody that wants to oppose your change. So who's going to stand against customer demands? who in the organization has the authority to say, well, that's not what the customers want? It's like, that's exactly what the customers want. Well, we're not on your IT stack. Well, you better get on our IT stack because this is what the customers want. This is the strategy. Like they don't have, like you're really creating this environment where you have this tremendous strategic advantage to overcome all the other objections you're from a much more powerful position, because now you're advocating for the customer. And what you're going to find is that often operational people, unless they're in customer, quote unquote, customer service, they don't have that connection often to the customer. If I'm in a manufacturing space, the customer is so far removed from the manufacturing technology. Like the customers, they don't talk to customers, but you do. They're talking just to, the other shift operators, or maybe somebody else in the engineering side, or they're part of the engineering, component, the cadre of, and the guild of engineers, but they don't really have that customer perspective like you have. And so the change that you're bringing is now couched in terms of customer demands. And it is hard for anybody to stand against a customer. So there's a lot of brittleness in that environment. And that's the reason why we've gone through a lot of these change initiatives. And what I call it brittle. That's the terminology I like to use. And that's because these organizational changes, what happens is you're going to find pretty quickly is that those systems, if they're not well designed to be integrated with, it's pretty hard to do. It's very hard to do. It's very hard to kind of build that integration between an order management system and the pick, pack, and ship system. If those are not unified, that means there's a piece of code that somebody's written that integrates the two of them. That's not easily done. And if you want to make any slight change in that, there's a whole process that has to happen. It's not easy to do. And so I call that brittleness. That not only is a problem for you in terms of deploying it, but what it does actually is it points out and gives you more ammo with the C-level people to say that system they designed is brittle, and see the cost that it has because we're not aligned. And you can help reform that front level vision of that kind of long-term goal. Like, this is why we need to do this, because those departments cannot respond to this demand very quickly. And so it is another kind of strategy. It's a little ninja hack of being able to take failures in the project actually and help you as a salesperson be positioned as that change agent, going, yeah, we expect this stuff is going to happen. We know those. We're going to start to reveal the cracks in the machine, so to speak. We're stress testing the organization's ability to respond to change. And so anytime that things are not going well, or the timelines get stretched out, or we go over budget, it's not a reflection of your technology. It's often a reflection of the organization's inability to make the change quickly enough. And that inadequacy shows you guys need some more organizational change. You need to understand this a little better. We need more resources to do this, because those folks, over there are doing their best. They have full-time jobs, producing stuff. And now we're asking them to come in and be part of this change model and build an MVP on top of delivering on the stuff they have right now. So, it just gives you a good strategic advantage to be able to look at challenges in the project as it moves forward, and to be able to position what the real issues are, which is often organizational in nature and very much less a technical challenge. So, of course, there's a lot of technical issues, and that's going to happen, right? But it's not as important as you think. Believe it or not, organizing and setting up the company is really creating a culture in the company. And that is to be able to be resilient and responsive to change. And so, this whole thing of digital transformation, again, being all about change at the end of the day. So those are some of the common technical themes that end up being things like security and building security layers and role-based security and understanding risk management. There's a person in this one department that needs to be able to have access to data at the other department. And we're going to use vendors to expose the data, maybe through portals or other things like that, or have them participate in our own internal system and give them access. This is really complicated stuff, but that's a common theme, is really around security. So change, when we bring that, we want to start looking at it as an ecosystem. And that's one of the big mega trends right now, is to build a supply chain that is or an ecosystem of who is delivering value. Often it's not just the customer, it's the customer's customer and the vendors in that customer space and the suppliers to those vendors, etc. Like it becomes a whole group of organizations. And that's the common thing right now we're seeing happen with a lot of this digital transformation. It's not just like, hey, we're now on, we can email each other when we got a problem. It's like, well, we could always just have picked up a phone. Like, that's been around for 40 years. Like, that's not a new thing. What we're doing now is we're going to build a system that we can collaborate together in real time on. And it's not just the business value that relates to me. I want to start pulling in and expanding the scope of that solution to include other people in the ecosystem. So we're going to use vendors, and we're going to have them participate in our own systems. Like, those are the kind of things. And customers, we're creating collaborative environments, that it's not just all about the people punching the clock in your building. It's be able to create environments where the whole ecosystem of people are involved in delivering value of the products involved in the same systems, so that in order to make a transformation, it requires a great deal of work around establishing and understanding those individuals, those people, and having them participate in the change. So the personas and the security that's required, that's important. It's an important technical challenge, but we want to be able to address it in a larger context of the organizational change that's coming. So digital transformation is, there's the digital security layer that I have to build in my systems, or I have to, there's the technical aspect of your product or solutions that has to fit, but you want to be able to fit it in the bigger ecosystem. And so that's the big change. One of the big transformation megatrends is collaboration, that we're looking at it not just around, it's the concept of the supply chain integration. Like, I'm building horizontal and vertical supply chains. So I want to know the end-to-end process. If you go sell at a giant retail company like a Walmart, let's say you're selling into Walmart, or pick some giant retail company, or General Motors, their purchasing department knows every aspect of the cost of what they're selling. They know the sub-suppliers, your suppliers, the packaging. They know the trucking companies, and they're able to look at all of that, because any disruptions in any of those have supply chain, and all of those contribute to cost for delivering a product at retail, or to deliver a car on a car lot. So understanding that entire ecosystem is the mega trend, around one of the major mega trends, and having that conversation that you're vertically integrated or you're horizontally integrated in the supply chain or the service supply chain. That is a really important understanding around this whole concept of digital transformation. And that's a story you need to be able to kind of articulate and all of that. So, all right. Well, with that said, I know we're going over a little today, so I just want to bring it to a close and just thank you all for your time today, talking about digital transformation and digital transformation architecture, and where your product or service fits in that is so important and critical for your success in this customer experience. So, and being successful as a technical seller. And I just want to encourage you, at all costs, you want to be able to work very diligently at honing this part of your conversation. This is where maturity comes in your career path, of being able to look at and integrate with people who have that vast and deep business experience, and walking away from every customer interaction that you have and putting it back into that context. A lot of times when we lose in sales, we want to think, well, we lost because of our price. And that's maybe what you're going to tell your sales manager. But you want to really walk away and say, well, why didn't they connect to our story of digital change? What was it about our message? Because when it's like, oh, we were too expensive, often you want to just go, well, actually, it wasn't too expensive. We're priced based on the market. It was their perception that we were too expensive. Then the company or competition landed that message more successfully. What was it about my messaging that didn't let me land a broader sales value in that, or have the customer see how we fit with their longer strategic goals? Because let me tell you something. If you're, think about this. We, we individually will invest and pay more for stuff all the time because we like it. It doesn't matter the cost of it. Like if we don't think about it that way often, we buy those clothes or those shoes, not just because they're functional, but because they give us a certain feeling of accomplishment, or they are able to reflect a certain value that we share or we want to broadcast to the people around us. And digital selling or selling technology is no different than that. In that sense that there's a certain value that the buyer has, and we align our product pricing and our product solution with that business value. And so if I got all the way to the end stage and I wasn't aligned to that value and they didn't buy, well, that's on me. I'm the one that didn't align my pitch to the business value. I didn't understand the value that they had on it. So of course I'm going to be perceived as too expensive. It doesn't have to do something with my pricing strategy necessarily. It has to do with I didn't listen good enough. I let the opportunity go too far down the funnel before I disqualified it and going, we're going to be the most expensive guy in the room. And so we better deal with this right away. Otherwise, we're going to lose this. And I don't want to spend the time, having a losing conversation and going all the way through the digital proof stage because that's expensive. And so maybe I need to do a better job of qualifying, and we need to do a better job. And we should, so we need to be able to walk away from losses. And so by putting these with insight and understanding and an ability to move forward on the next opportunity and to learn from that. And one of the best ways to align that conversation is around change, the customer's change strategy. And so if we're not connected into that strategy and what's the value of that and understanding that and being able to quantify that, all we are going to be able to walk away from the purchasing department or the IT department and say, you guys were the most expensive guys in the room. So if it was just price, Louis Vuitton and LVH would not be the most valuable company on the planet today. Like, it's not all about your flipping price. And that's where, as salespeople, that's just cheap, like a cheap way to get away. Yeah, we're just too expensive. Like that's just that's a lazy reason. Often is that, well, why did we even give them a price if we knew we were going to be the most expensive one? Let me tell you a story. I sold for AT&T in the 90s, and we were always the most expensive. Always the most expensive. We were selling against MCI, who we later on, of course, found out that they were being illegal and cheating. But we all knew what was going on. But we knew this. And we also knew that Sprint was coming on. And so when I'm selling data internet connections back in the 90s, I knew that when I put a thing on a quote on a desk, it was going to be the most expensive. So I had that conversation right at the very beginning with every one of my customers. We're going to be the most expensive. Is that okay? We're going to be 20% more, but here's the reasons why. And I had a pitch already set up for, this is our security layer. This is our network reliability. If those are not important to you and it's just bottom line, please tell me now, because I don't want to give you a price. I'm not going to go through the effort. My time is valuable, and I need you to be respectful of that. So let's have an honest conversation here. If you're just looking for the lowest price, here's the guy from Sprint's phone number. Give him a call, because I'm not going to be cheaper than him. And if you can do that, that meant I could just close the deal as a loss and deal with the consequences later on. But I am not going to waste my time. I'm going to go find another customer who's going to positively respond to that conversation that likes where my value is aligned with their value. And if it's not aligned at the C level, you are, you're really up for a coin flip at the end of whether you win or not. So anyways, that's my advice to you guys today and gals out there trying to make this all work. Thank you again for your time. My name is Pierre Hulsebus, and this is The Technical Seller.